Hi guys, welcome to Let's Talk. It's a new episode with my co-host Dimitri and myself Akim. We have as guest today Mimi Ho. Her eToro username is KoraTrades. She's quite famous on eToro under the username KoraTrades. She is a crypto investor, has tech background, and today the topic will be mostly about crypto and blockchain. Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. Will go a little bit through everything. We will discuss all together. Mimi, if you want to introduce maybe yourself in a few words, so your audience knows you a little bit better.
Hi everyone. It's really an honor to be here and on this podcast. Yeah, I'm Mimi. I'm KoraTrades, and I'm one of the elite popular investors on eToro. My general focus mostly is crypto, so I guess that's why we have this topic today. But I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mimi, for joining. Your portfolio is quite interesting. Most of our guests that we had, they stock heavy, right?
Hmm.
They mostly invest in stocks, eventually ETFs. You went down another road where you
Yeah.
have a heavy concentration in crypto, not only in Bitcoin, so it's quite diversified and really interesting crypto picks in your portfolio.
Hmm.
So the first thing that I personally would like to ask, because Dimitri and me, we watch a lot CNBC and some other
Hmm.
investment slash finance channels, and very often the people who are talking on those channels. So Bitcoin became a little bit more mainstream. It's true. We have the Bitcoin ETF approved by
Yeah.
the SEC, Ethereum ETF as well, but you still have a lot of doubt. I mean, recently there was Jamie Dimon on CNBC saying that the only use cases of Bitcoin are for illegal activities, to
Mm.
launder money, for human and sex trafficking, and to finance terrorism. Um, I, knowing you a little bit, I doubt that you would make a uh, such a dangerous asset your top holding, but Bitcoin is your top holding. I'm not saying it's a dangerous asset. It's just what Jamie
Hmm.
Dimon says and big finance guys. So what would you answer to them? Dimitri, it's his favorite stock, by the way, JP Morgan, right? Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan. So what would you answer to Jamie Dimon and the shareholders of JP Morgan about Bitcoin?
Oh, well, look, it has always been, I mean, there's still obviously a stigma around cryptocurrency. When I speak of Bitcoin, obviously Bitcoin is king. I do also, when I say Bitcoin, I also say crypto in general. But to answer that question, at the end of the day, what Bitcoin brings is fear and hope at the same time. So the people that fear it, obviously, I would say those who still want, government bodies, people who still want control um, within society. Um, what people don't really realize at the moment is that cash is still king when it comes to illegal activity. Um, the reason why there's such a spotlight on Bitcoin is because it's faster. There's more leverage. It's obviously autonomous. It can be traced in terms of like the addresses, but to really pinpoint the individual, I mean, like I'm sure it somewhat can be done somehow, but it's very difficult to. So my answer really is like at the end of the day, cash is still king in terms of illegal activity. You still have bad actors on both sides. It's just that those who are very anti-cryptos focus on why crypto is bad, why Bitcoin is bad, and focus on all of the dark web, dark net, drugs and all of that come with cryptocurrency, and they don't realize that before crypto there were always illegal activity. There was always illegal activity. There was always bad actors, scams. They become more sophisticated over time. and with cash. And now there is Bitcoin. And so it's just another level that facilitates, illegal activity. So I think it's unfair to really say that, Bitcoin facilitates
Yes.
illegal activity. And then we can go on to the fact that what other usage and what else does Bitcoin bring? And that is, obviously decentralization and, a financial system without borders, financial equality, all of that. And I know we'll probably get into that a bit more. But that, in a nutshell, would be my answer. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Dimitri is a big fan of Jamie Dimon, so I'm going to let him lawyer what Jamie Dimon said against Bitcoin.
So, first of all, you're not going to get a real opinion from these guys. They're running a large, so you're going to get the opinion the market wants to hear from the CEO of the largest American bank. That's number one. Number two, he's probably referring to, I'm sure you're familiar with the Silk Road. It was a dark web website that they were selling all kinds of illegal stuff using Bitcoin. That's back in the day. That's not today. That was like almost like a decade ago. And then the US government, the FBI closed it and they confiscated all the Bitcoin. So all the Bitcoin that the US government has, they confiscated from there. So he's probably referring to some of that as well. And number three, his comments probably going to change once JP Morgan starts start investing more directly into Bitcoin, because in the end of the day, they are investment banks. They only want to make money. If an asset is investable, and I believe Bitcoin at this point is actually investable, and then they're going to get into that, and his tone is going to change, like other people, like other big people in finance. Their opinions change over the years. So now, if you're asking about Ethereum or about Solana or Cardano or XRP, then you're going to get different. But Bitcoin, and just to finish this up, so Akim can tell us what he thinks, I don't think Bitcoin, when I'm thinking about crypto, I'm not thinking about Bitcoin. I'm thinking about the altcoins, because Bitcoin, it became something different. It's store of value, okay?
Yeah.
Once MicroStrategy bought how many billions of Bitcoin, is not crypto anymore. It's a store of value. It's a hard asset, even though you can't touch it and you can't put ketchup on it. I'm just making a joke from the...
I beg to differ. Like, we'll talk about that later.
To me, and that's the only reason I don't have Bitcoin. I have altcoins, but Bitcoin, it got so large already, and I'm sure it's going to get even larger. The dramatic upside, it's out already, in my view. Maybe it's going to go to $1 million, maybe, but the altcoins have more potential in creating wealth. That's the reason I don't own Bitcoin, but Bitcoin for me is not crypto. It got out of the category of crypto, and regarding the risk and everything, it's like gold. So it's the digital gold, and whatever you think gold is, Bitcoin is for the digital age.
Exactly.
It's quite interesting what you said about Jamie Dimon and other people that they might change their opinion as time goes. There was this CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink. It was quite interesting. I was shareholder of BlackRock until this week. I decided to sell it. The stock got expensive, but it was quite interesting to see the evolution of Larry Fink. That he was very much conservative and anti-crypto, and calling it a scam. And I don't have the exact quote, but basically that's what he was saying. And then once it got approved by the SEC and BlackRock launched the ETF for Bitcoin, his view totally changed. And he's comparing Bitcoin to gold, saying it's a store of value, saying it's a good hedge to have in the portfolio. So the speech of people changed a little bit depending on where the interest lies. We all know about Trump, that while he was president, he was against crypto, and now he's making a lot
Yeah.
of promises in favor of crypto. But to their defense, it's not, you know, they're necessarily bad people or selfish or don't really have an opinion. It's possible that their opinions really changed. My own opinion also evolved a little bit over the years. In the beginning, when I started in 2020, so I did buy some cryptos at that time, but for me, crypto was not something really. It's not something where I see value in, just because anyone can come and create crypto within a day. It's not difficult to create a crypto, especially on the Ethereum chain. And there are, I don't know how many cryptocurrencies now, but maybe 30,000 already cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, it was a bit over 20,000 a few months
Oh,
ago, but now probably we're around 30,000. Right? A
I
lot
thought
of
it was
cryptocurrencies.
13,000, but probably like I think so
Um,
many have just died out, but
yeah,
I could
it's
be
true.
wrong.
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe my figure is about the created ones, but of
Yeah.
course, many also, yeah, completely died out or were completely pulled from the blockchain. And this is a little bit the problem, is every person on Earth or every computer on Earth can become a central bank of a currency, right? Of a digital currency. And that's where I see the problem in crypto. But in my portfolio, I do hold crypto, but only the ones I'm quite a conservative investor, so I only invest in what is basically approved by the SEC. And Bitcoin and Ethereum are approved by the SEC to be invested into by ETFs, so by institutional investors. This means that retirements of people can be invested in them. So what I'm assuming is that the SEC has done enough research over the years, and we know how Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, is against crypto, but still approved those ETFs. So I'm thinking that there is a base here for investor protection in Bitcoin and Ethereum, that basically those two are not scams.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually joined Demetris' point, saying where he was saying that Bitcoin is something completely different from the rest, from all the other altcoins. In my opinion, Ethereum also, as even though it is a host for a lot of altcoins, right? But for me, I see those two coins separately, and those are legitimate investments. The altcoins, I'm not saying the legitimate investments, but illegitimate, but they high risk, also high reward, right? So, but I don't exactly know where I stand when it comes to cryptocurrencies. For me, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's a bit like commodities, like gold, but it's not currencies per se. Gold can be used as a currency. Bitcoin and Ethereum, I see some issues there to be one day used as a currency, you know, for everyday transactions. So it's more like a commodity like gold, while altcoins are really currencies, but as I said, with thousands of central banks throughout the world. So I'm not sure in the long run if it's really sustainable to have many cryptocurrencies, altcoins, and you know that they keep being created every day. But you are here to change our mind. I represent a bit the skeptical type of you know, crypto person. I'm not a crypto person, but you know what I mean. So you're here a little bit to change my mind, because your
Yeah.
portfolio is very heavy on altcoins. So your top two positions are Bitcoin and Ethereum. I would say it's quite logical. But after that, there is Fetch, XRP, Solana, BNB. It's still the big altcoins, right? It's still the big
Yeah,
ones.
it
You
is.
don't really
It is.
see small cap altcoins in your portfolio. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your
I mean,
strategy. How do you pick, yeah, your crypto holdings?
yeah. I mean, like going back on the fact that there have been tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies and still new ones being created over time. I think that one question is that is, you know, people have asked, you know, is that something that's worrying, and is that a threat to, you know, the giants? And you can see that yes, it is, but I also see that it also breeds like innovation and creativity. So, for example, if we could have like a comparison, Solana. I wrote a piece on Solana and Ethereum. Everyone's saying Solana is the Ethereum killer, and it's very similar, and and so yes, it is very similar. The ecosystems are quite similar. There are obviously pros and cons. Solana is new, it's newer. It's just a lot quicker. It's more scalable. But obviously in terms of security, it's not there. And it's obviously not a first mover. Ethereum over Solana is first mover. So you do have there's a lot of competition and it's very saturated. But the way I see it is that it's a positive thing to have so many new projects, because then it kind of lights that fire in Ethereum, in Solana, in Ripple, whatever their competition is, so that their developers and their company will then go, okay, how do we evolve? How do we push ourselves to keep on top of our game? So in terms of whether that's a threat or not, I think it's a good thing. In terms of how I choose now, like as investors, especially like being so new to crypto, I think I started in 2017 to really look into crypto and invest. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I still think that there are some tokens, altcoins in my portfolio that I will get rid of. And I think that's just something that over time, as you research, you're like, look, nothing's moving with this particular crypto. I don't see a future, so I'll just get rid of it, and that's okay. The other thing I think about also is like, which ones have survived the test of time? Which ones have survived the last 4 years? All the COVID crash, war, inflation, collapse of FT, bear market,
collapse of
FTX collapse.
FTX.
Oh gosh, that was people thought that was the end. Being at the largest crypto exchange in the world, and so then now. I look at here, which ones have actually survived? They've got the backing, they've got the technology, they've got the money, and obviously the usage case of it as well. So and that's how I choose where I invest my money and which ones are my favorites.
It's interesting. You didn't mention, you didn't use the word price once, actually, which is, I would say it's even a good thing. It means you're a true believer in crypto, because you actually talking about ecosystem, using words like projects, developers. So this is what matters to you, right? What's behind the project, and not just the chart. A lot of people just trade based on charts.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like a great rally? Like, who doesn't like money? So I obviously that I do love the fact that I do believe that you can make a lot of money investing in crypto, but I am a strong believer of the future of Bitcoin and crypto and what it can do. I personally feel, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free to chime in, but our current financial system is flawed and it's outdated. We're experiencing financial crises over and over again. You can't print more Bitcoin. I mean, by I think the year 2140, around about there. I mean, 21 million. That's it. 21 million Bitcoins. That's it. And then price will go up. You can't print more. But with fiat, with cash, you just more money is printed, inflation goes up, we get into hot water, and then it's just a vicious cycle. And so that, and also, like I mentioned before, a financial system without borders, being able to give people who are in underdeveloped like systems and governments access to funds, then therefore giving them opportunity to thrive. And so my kind of like passion in crypto kind of extends beyond just crypto. It's just more like, changing the world. And as corny and cliche as that may sound.
This is really, really, really interesting, because I actually came to this episode thinking that we would discuss charts, the dip, where Bitcoin is heading for the next month. We will discuss that as well. But for now, it's really a philosophical discussion, right? Crypto is a revolution, a political revolution, but also
Oh yeah,
in a way of life, right? A lifestyle. I know,
yeah.
you know, seeing your Instagram that you like to attend events. You always ask whether someone in your network is attending those events. So being invested in crypto for the long run, it's not just buy and hold. You actually have to live it, right? You have to go to those events. You have to
Yeah.
live and breathe crypto and believe in the revolution. That is actually the long run case for crypto in general.
Yeah, I really love you use the word revolution, because when people ask me, what is Bitcoin to you? And aside from, all the everything that we know, digital currency, store of value, all of that, I like to describe it as Bitcoin is revolution disguised as code. And I just love that, and that's why I'm a true believer, and I think it will make a positive change.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Revolution in code.
Yeah.
Dimitri's smiling.
Revolution. What do you
Dimitri's
think,
smiling.
Demetrius?
What
He's like,
kind of
what is
smile
she?
is
What is
that?
she?
So I'm smiling because when Akim told me that we're going to have you as a guest, and he said, "What do you have in mind to ask?" I told him, "I want to know if she a true believer or just like the price action, which there's nothing wrong with just liking the price action or being a true believer." So now you just said it, you're a true believer, and I believe you're a true believer because you didn't mention the price too much. You mentioned all the other things that Bitcoin is. And also, if I'm guessing right, you are not a Bitcoin maxi, right?
A Bitcoin maxi? No.
Yeah, you're not. Okay. So usually at the maxis that they ruin the party because they want to be just Bitcoin, but it's not just Bitcoin.
No.
This Bitcoin is the top, and then there's other things underneath Bitcoin. So you're a true believer, you're not Bitcoin maxi, which I believe is an unusual combination. Usually the true believers are just Bitcoin and everything else is shitcoins. Am I right, Akim? Everything else are shitcoins.
Yes, usually the crypto conferences, they are called Bitcoin conference, right? Or they call Bitcoin event, and you have people wearing Bitcoin t-shirts, right? I mean, generally speaking, as a rule, you don't have that many to mention one crypto, link believers, right? You have Bitcoin believers. Altcoin believers is a bit less common, and people invest more often for the price action. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Me?
Yes, Mimi.
Yes.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, altcoin's part of that revolution. Not just Bitcoin and
of
Ethereum,
course.
but all the coins
Yeah,
being created every day, they can contribute to
of
changing the
course. I
world.
mean, yeah, of course. I mean, like, one of the differences between Bitcoin and, like, altcoins like Ethereum, Ripple, and all that is Bitcoin is solely digital currency store of value. But then you have Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, and all of them. They have their own ecosystems. They're just not. This is. I read another piece on Ripple, the company, and then no, so well, I did Ethereum as well, but like Ethereum, and then there's Ether, and people get very confused. And I did as well in the beginning. Of thinking that it's exactly the one thing, but there's an ecosystem, platform, where decentralized applications and decentralized finance is built on. And so my passion in Bitcoin and crypto, it extends beyond just crypto. I believe in digitizing almost everything in our world. There's a world that we don't exactly understand enough, and I think that also plays a part in the fear that people have. I mean, back in the day, people didn't understand what email was, and that's digital mail. Back then we were just like, pen paling, sending snail mail. It's tangible. It's all tangible in our world. But there is the digital world as well, and I would also call that tangible. And when Demetri said, you know, you can't put ketchup on Bitcoin or whatever it is that you said before, essentially you can if there's ketchup in the digital world, you know. So it, yeah, you know, I believe in the technology that is affiliated with crypto. It's not just crypto alone. It's you know, any other AI. AI is another branch that or another sector that I'm quite interested in, or becoming a lot more interested in now as well. And I'm looking into investing a lot more in that sector. Still quite new, so I wouldn't rush into it for the sake of price action and all that, because you know that sometimes like things can just like shoot up and then you just like have a crash, and then it takes a while for certain sectors to mature. And that's one thing that I've learned.
This probably justifies the presence of Nvidia in your top holdings.
Yes.
It's crypto primarily, but you also have Nvidia, so I assume it's also for, you don't only have Nvidia, you have other tech companies like AMD, Meta. So I'm assuming that you're trying to also combine AI a little bit. So that is actually quite interesting. Crypto and AI combination. That's sounds like the sectors that will outperform, right? Because it's new, it's modern, there's movement. What do you think, Demetri? You're more a Walmart guy, right? More old school America.
About technology?
Walmart, JP Morgan.
No, I have some Nvidia as well. I have some technology.
Nvidia.
I have some technology as well. I have some Nvidia and some Amazon and Microsoft. I usually like to stick with the larger names in crypto, and in stocks I like to stick with the large cap. They're usually a bit safer. The little guys usually they go down, and you are the last one to find out why they went down. So I don't want to wake up on a Sunday morning and see my holdings being down 50%. So I try to avoid that, even though I like the risk into tech and into crypto. But yeah, what was the question again? I think I lost my mind.
You're a Walmart guy.
I am a Walmart guy.
Basically, I was what I was meaning to say. I was not meaning to say that you don't have tech exposure. You have very large tech exposure. It's probably your main sector, Demetri. But it's not where the revolution will start. The revolution usually starts in smaller companies that come up with something and then they grow, like OpenAI, right? It starts in something small and then they grow very quickly. And then eventually they get bought by those very large cap. Usually large cap, they're not at the beginning of a revolution, right? They watch what's happening, they make some smart acquisitions, and then they hop on the wagon. And that's understandable because they're not willing to take a huge risk because they already sector leader in existing product lines, existing service lines, right? So they usually take much more time. It's also a much bigger entity, so they take much more time in their decision making than smaller companies where it's just the CEO and one developer working together, right? I'm a little bit exaggerating, but the revolution is usually not there where the very, very large caps are, right, Dimitri?
Yeah, but
you're still investing in them and you're still believing in the AI revolution at the same time.
I agree with you, and I'm a huge believer in AI. And I can tell you my case for it. But how often do you see a revolution? You don't see a revolution every week. You see a revolution once a decade. So what was the revolution on AI? Well, just Nvidia. The other ones, AMD, the revolution was almost invisible. And by the time people realized that the AMD was it AMD or was it the other one that was also appreciating like Nvidia, by the time people realized it, the alpha was out of the bag. So semiconductors, they are in a secular bull. They are in a secular bull market because everything we do going forward is going to be into the digital age, and they're going to provide the hardware and even crypto. But like I said, how
But,
many?
you know, I'm afraid we're saying that because the stock prices rose. We were saying the same back in 2020, 2021, when there was a bull run in crypto and in tech, that those two are the future, and you know, and then there was a big bubble in both cases, and the bubble burst the year after in 2022, and there was a terrible bear market, and everyone was saying, yes, this is a bubble, and now it feels like after the halving of Bitcoin, and also after the stock price action of stocks like Nvidia, that we're a little bit returning in that bubble where we were in 2020, 2021. I mean, I'm just trying not to have a short memory, right? I'm not saying that tech is not going to perform great. I'm just saying that the narrative keeps changing. And I'm just wondering whether it's not purely speculation. 2020, 2021, everyone was so bullish on tech and crypto. 2022, everyone was so bearish, saying that it's the end of crypto. Tech is so overpriced, it's a bubble. And now we're returning this year. I feel like we're returning a little bit in that bubble mood where we're saying tech and crypto, it's the future, they're amazing. Aren't people just following the green in their portfolio? I mean, like they see in the portfolio, this stock is green. It rose very nicely this year, and that makes them bullish. Maybe the fundamentals haven't evolved that much. The price of Bitcoin has been rising, but the fundamentals changed because there was an approval by the SEC. For Ethereum, it's the same. But for the cryptosphere in general, the market cap is still lower than in 2021. So how can we really confidently say that the fundamentals are improving for crypto? And it's the same for a bunch of tech stocks that still haven't reached all-time high. I'm thinking of Tesla. It's been trading sideways for 3 years now. It's down 5% over three-year period. So can we really say that those are the future if they haven't even reached the top from 2021, despite the speculation in 2021 and the speculation now? Do you see what I'm saying? Are we
I mean, yeah, I
disconnected
do.
the pricing from the real reality, the real fundamentals? Everyday people, they're not driving Teslas. They're not using crypto for their transactions, right? It's really an elite of people who are using crypto and have the time to go to crypto events. It's also an elite of people that can drive Teslas, right? So are we not a little bit disconnected here, stock market and the real reality, as I'm trying to see it when I go out and, you know, talk with people and see people. I mean, I'm living in Europe, so it's also a little bit older minded here in Northern Europe than you are located now, I think in Southeast Asia, Australia, right? There it's much more vibrant and people are more keen to
Yeah.
adopt new technologies. But usually when you look around, you're not really seeing people adopting what the stock market is really being bullish on. So is
I
the
mean,
stock
like
market ahead of reality, basically,
what
right
was the
now?
last part? Sorry.
Is the stock market and the crypto market ahead of reality right now?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we need to really ask, like, what's been happening the last 4 years since COVID? You know, like, has that had any impact also on like whether people are driving Teslas or not? Because I know obviously the EV market took a huge tumble. I had a brief. Well, I tried to have a very deep dive into that. Haven't quite finished yet, but I mean, there's a lot of reasons that are given, which is like, oh, it was because of, you know, COVID, inflation, people can't afford it, you know, semiconductor issues at one point, and then obviously sentiment, you know, affecting like sentiment and the fact that it's still quite a new sector. So anything that's still new, it's really difficult for people to believe until, you know, you give it a few more years, you give it time to mature. Like we were mentioning, you mentioned before, you know, people changing their mind, people who are completely anti-crypto, then changing their mind. I don't know if this is answering your question. I hope so. But people, you know, changing their mind, changing their tone on crypto just because it's been given more time, and the demand then increases and sentiment becomes a lot more positive. The last 4 years, I mean, I can only really speak about crypto for now, is that it has been tough. It's been a tough time for crypto investors. It just felt like we couldn't catch a break. There was either, you know, the SEC coming out and, you know, slamming Ripple with like the lawsuit, which has come back again, of course, with no, you know, surprise that they're appealing the decision that's been made a few months ago. And then, you know, FTX collapsing, and then obviously, you know, the pandemic, which affected all markets. But you know, and then China would make certain comments, you know, banning or not banning, and then, you know, more regulatory problems, and it just seems like the last 4 years crypto hasn't been able to really catch a break from a lot of bad news and bad events, negative events. So yeah, does that actually answer your question?
Yeah. So, you know, my question was more of a philosophical nature, so there's not going to be an exact answer. I was basically saying whether investing is investing the art of seeing the reality as it is now, or is investing trying to imagine what's going to happen, what, 1 year from now, or 10 years, or 20 years? Well, what's the time horizon here? And I think, Demetri, it's probably a good question for you as well, because you're laughing.
I'm laughing because that's the answer I have to give you after Mimi was concluded with her answer. And that's what investing is. You have to take the leap of faith and believe that the future that you have in your head and the market has in their head to justify a company paying 10 times earnings into the 10 times earnings means that if you buy the whole company, it's going to take you 10 years of earnings to earn the whole amount of the stock price. That's what 10p means. So you're making a judgment that you see 10 years into the future, and assuming management has a plan that going to deliver the future to you. And some of them, Nvidia did, Amazon did, Microsoft did. So investing has an element of speculation as well. You might say you're a value investor or a growth investor, but in some point you're speculating. You're assuming World War III is not going to happen next year. You're assuming everything is going to stay as it is.
That's really interesting what you're saying. So you're saying that basically you cannot be a reasonable investor. That doesn't exist. You have to have some kind of gut feeling or leap of faith. When I'm saying reasonable investor, I mean using only reason, right? What you're saying, you have to use your gut, trust your gut, and have a leap of faith.
So 3 years ago, if I came to you and I said, you know what, Nvidia is going to develop a chip that they're going to put into a robot, and you're going to have surgery in your leg, and a robot's going to come into the surgery room, and it's going to give the directions to the doctor. You're going to say, dude, you're crazy. Am I crazy, really? Because snap your fingers and we're going to have it in the next 2 years. And Nvidia is going to provide the chips, and others, of course. So I didn't see that. I saw the potential. I maybe understood that the whole OpenAI thing, okay, because I used it as soon as it came out. My brother's in IT, and he told me, when was it? Like February of 22. So not a lot of people knew about it. And I'm like, okay, this is big. This can be something. But I didn't see the future. But I saw a taste of it, and took the chance with Nvidia. But and where investing comes, if you take a leap of faith and take the risk for something that is not certain, and you buy the stock cheap, you're going to make a lot of money. If you wait to see a glimpse of the future, it's already priced in. It's already priced in, and all the alpha is out. So successful investing, it's a bit speculation.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that what you're essentially saying, I want really to match the words you guys are saying with your
Yes.
portfolios. So it's not just talk the talk, you need to walk the walk.
Mhm.
There's a famous guy who says that all the time. Solana, it means you're believing, Dimitri, you're believing more in Solana than
Yes.
Tesla, JP Morgan, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, based on your portfolio, because the holding is just
Yeah, I'm 80% up on Solana, so it wasn't invested as much as it was in. Oh yeah, maybe Tesla is right. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. But
if we take the invested amount, it's
yes.
still higher than Alphabet, Goldman Sachs, Meta, Bank of America, even Nvidia. So does it mean that you're seeing more of a future in Solana than Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, the traditional finance?
So I'm not the kind of investor that believes it's one thing or the other. Two things happen at the same time. So we can have an old economy that people go and borrow money from a bank, or they call their broker in Goldman Sachs and they invest their money. And at the same time, the kids of those people, the rich people that they do the things one way, they can buy a house and can be done on a smart contract on Ethereum or Solana. I can see the future. And those two cryptos I have, it's only because for the smart contract aspect of them. Because the way it was understood, the way I understood it, by talking to some people that know more about me about crypto, and I watch YouTube like any reasonable person does on these days about crypto, and it was like, okay, I can see that happening, and I can take a chance. Okay, in total, it's like 8-9% of my portfolio, so it's not. I'm not taking chances with 50%, but yeah.
I'm not hearing the gut feeling here for Solana and Ethereum in your case.
It's not based off gut feelings. I don't work with gut feelings. That like the idea has to make sense in my head, and by the time I go to press buy, I have to feel good about it. That's my gut feeling. I'm not sitting and trying to think, okay, my gut feeling now is telling me, and I go and just buy that. That's just speculation. That's not how I do it. But I want to feel good about it, and that's my gut feeling. It's actually based on doing some work and maybe taking some chances in your own head and trying to create your own the future that you see. Because that's what investing is. You have to take the chances on the convictions you have based on the future you see. That's a quote. I'm gonna write that down. That's a quote.
That is
That's a really good quote.
So that's the way I do it. Some people they do it differently, and there's nothing wrong with doing something differently. We don't have to do everything. Everybody have to do the same way. Everything. Some people want to see it. They want to be more. They want to be able to sleep at night better when they know they can see the beginning of the road. They can't see the end. They can see light they can see light at the end of the tunnel, but they can't see the tunnel. Yeah, but if you want to outperform and if you want to create wealth, you're gonna have to take some chances in some point. That's why I have some Walmart in there, which is boring as shit. Okay. So you have to mix it up. You have to put some Walmart and some wholesale and some JP Morgan and then some of that, and then you mix them.
Diversify,
Diversify, yeah.
diversification. One of the top rules anyway. Yeah.
Am I making sense, Akim, or because I see you confused? Maybe I'm not making complete sense.
No, it is. It's really interesting what you're saying. It's really interesting. It's just really, 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 really hard to picture the future 5, 10, 20 years from now, right? At least for me, it's quite difficult to picture it. We know that we're going to use more technologies and but Still, it is always difficult to picture it, and it's always difficult to know which companies are going to benefit from that and which cryptos are going to benefit from that, right?
Do you know when you're gonna see the future? When your kid is a newborn. When your kid is 6 or 7 and has a phone, he will tell you the future, and you can believe him.
For sure.
He's gonna tell you the future.
No,
right?
yeah, no,
Well,
I absolutely agree with that. And I mean, like, I don't want to interrupt here, but I just didn't want to lose my trail of thought. You know, of course it's really difficult to predict the future. And if we're here talking about investing, but then obviously, like, I like to touch on, like, just in life in general, you can never predict what's going to happen in like 5-10 years time. In terms of investing and where to invest and how to invest and which technology and crypto and all that, as you guys know me, I like to apply the psychological aspect in investing. And so when it comes to technology, I like to think about, okay, how is this shaping everyone's behavior right now? How is everyone, for example, I try to get across it, I do the research, I try to utilize it. I am now finding myself shifting away from Googling something. I just go to chat straight away because it's so much quicker. Type I in the past I would type something in Google, you would go through a few articles, you do your research, but now we have chat, and so that's like the psychological aspect in terms of investing. How is it shaping the way people are living right now? And to be able to observe that gives you a bit of a gauge of where the future is moving. I remember watching one of the movies or a documentary. It was either the actual movie or documentary, I can't remember, on Steve Jobs. So the evolution of, Apple and how he came about, creating all the technologies and projects. And there was one moment that I remember very clearly. They spoke about him sitting they're having a meeting in the ballroom, in the room, and this is before the iPhone came out, and he's sitting there and he's just looking at his hand, and everyone's just talking and doing their thing, and he's just looking at his hand, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And this is before the iPhone, and he somehow came up with the fact that how we can utilize our hands to touch our phones, and then that's how I guess the birth of iPhone. So obviously he was a visionary. One great example. It's just trying to tap into where is the world shifting to? How are people behaving? What comes naturally to people? And then I guess that can somehow apply.
That's quite interesting. So it's not all entrepreneurs that need to be visionaries, also investors, at least the ones that buy assets to hold them for the very long term. They need to be somewhat visionaries. Or
I have a question, Akim. I don't want to interrupt you. Don't you think investors are entrepreneurs in a way because they take the risk?
Yeah.
To be honest, I think no, because to be honest, I think no. I think from my view, the way I'm investing, I'm not saying, it's just my way of investing is a lack of creativity, but I have money, right? I mean, I'm not, I'm just saying, okay.
He's like, I have money.
Just so I don't have the creativity, but I have some spare money, right? It can be even $100 is enough to start investing. So the way I'm seeing it is entrepreneurs need capital, and investors, they usually don't have that creativity. Otherwise, they would invest in their own businesses, right? So what they're doing is they're trying to pick the entrepreneurs that are visionaries and give them that money and to receive shares in return, right? So this is how I'm seeing it. As an investor, you don't need to be a visionary. You need to be a good picker of visionaries.
I mean, I don't disagree with you because No, I don't disagree with you, but I do think that once I'm taking the risk and I have no control how you run the company, I just own the shares. So you can run the company to the ground, and I'm losing the same capital you are losing. I'm losing everything just like you. So maybe we don't do the startups, but in a sense, I believe investors are entrepreneurs as well because they take the risk. That's just an opinion. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. Opinion.
What's your take, Mimi, on this?
I mean, I mean, I do agree with Demetris. I've never thought about it that way, actually, but I do agree that somewhat, yes, investors are entrepreneurs. I guess it depends on what type of investor you are as well. You are taking the risk. I mean, in business, you're taking risk. In business, you're creating something. In business, you're investing in something, in something, a product, in some way, shape, or form. You're investing in yourself, a team. So they go hand in hand. I would say that it's very similar, and you're as an investor, a trader, you're also a freelancer. You're creating your own income, you're working for yourself. I mean, it depends on what your definition of entrepreneur is. I mean, what is your definition of entrepreneur?
My definition of entrepreneur is it's the guy who is starting something from scratch.
And creating wealth.
Yes. So he's thinking about something, he's creating it, he's risking his time and money and looking for other people to contribute to his vision by risking their time and their money. So the entrepreneur definition is undisputable. I'm not trying to change that. I'm trying to say that investors are a bit of entrepreneurs as well, because we're not working for someone. We're risking our own capital to other people's ideas. So if I come to you in the private markets and I give you 10% for your idea, I'm just the investor, or I'm a part entrepreneur as well. So why would be different into the public markets? I know it's borderline. It's not exactly, but I know it's borderline, and maybe we're not entrepreneurs like people have in their heads, but taking the risk, I believe we are /investors /entrepreneurs.
I think I'm a little bit swayed because of we are PIs, so I'm a little bit swayed in that sense, that we are entrepreneurs and we're running, we have clientele to service and to answer to and to report to and to keep on board. We're providing a service and we're helping them, make money. So I think that I'm a bit swayed. So I agree with both sides. I agree with both sides. So I'm swayed in that way. Yeah.
Interesting. No, really, it's very, very interesting for me also. That will keep me up at night tonight. Besides my newborn keeping me up at night, this also will keep me up at night. Because we went really far actually in the definition of investor, what it is to be an investor. And I think for our audience to be really interesting to have those different points of view and to think what they feel is right for them. There's no one way to be a successful investor. There are many ways. There's many ways as there are people on earth. Everyone can be successful with his or her own different way in the stock market or in the crypto market. And actually, I wanted to, because we're trying to predict the future, or at least we were discussing that topic, this would be the last point of today's episode. And I know a lot of people are asking this on eToro, and that's why I think we should still discuss it, is what price will Bitcoin reach in the next 12 months?
Oh, gosh. I mean,
it's a question you get a lot, I assume, right?
Yes. Who wants to go first? Am I going first?
Mimi, you're the crypto expert. Please go ahead.
Okay, so
ladies first.
Okay, so wait, so within the next 12 months or within the next
What's your view? If you have a price target for 2030, that's also
I
fine.
do.
If you have no price target at all because you're gonna hold until the 22nd century, that's also fine, right?
Hmm.
What do you have
Yeah, I
in
mean,
mind
like,
in terms of Bitcoin price action?
I, it's really difficult to say in terms of like extremely long term, like 2030 and beyond. Um, I will answer the very short term, which is within the next 12 months, because obviously everything is cyclical. A, another bear market will arrive. The new bull market is just beginning, in my opinion. Um,
Mm.
very, very slowly, frustratingly. But in terms of price, I am conservatively within the next 12 months, I would say mid to high 100,000, so 150,000 to 180,000, give or take,
Really?
is pretty much,
That high?
yeah.
Because we're up already, you said it's frustratingly slow, but we're up, what, 300% since the bear market
Mm,
lows already, right?
mm,
It was
mm,
trading at
mm, mm.
$17K, maybe something like that.
Yeah, it was like 16
16
something. I
even.
remember buying.
And
Yeah.
now we're at 60 something. So that's 300% already up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is that
Hmm.
frustrating? Because you use the word
It's not
frustrating. Frustratingly
frustrating in the
slow.
sense, frustratingly slow, as in the sense that the SEC have come out again, and I think I'm also a big Ripple fangirl, a very very big fan
Mm.
of Ripple, which I'm sure can be another episode, but I think that plays into my frustration. But I mean, yeah, that would be my
300%
price.
because that could be a peak already. Have we not reached a peak? I'm
That was
just
the
not
reason
seeing, we're
that.
talking about looking at the future. In the next 12 months, I'm not seeing any catalysts. We've had them this year already with the announcements of
Mm,
the ETFs, with
mhm,
Trump promises, with the SEC
mhm,
approving, right, the ETFs.
mhm,
So we had those big catalysts, and
mm.
ETFs actually starting to invest already. I don't know what else to look ahead to
But
if it's not bad news, because the good news, they happened already. We have the FTX guy in jail, Sam Bankman-Fried.
mhm,
It's stable. The crypto exchanges are stable. There's no bad news
mhm,
at the moment, right?
mm.
Binance is okay for now. So I'm not sure what growth catalyst to look ahead for to justify Bitcoin doing another 200%,
Do
unless it's
we? Yeah.
bots, algo trading, and speculation. Like, what are the growth catalysts to look ahead to that would justify such a rise?
I mean, you said that we've already had those catalysts already, so there shouldn't really be any. But do we necessarily need to have those specific catalysts to trigger this new bull run?
You tell me. Do we need
No,
those catalysts?
no, no, no. I would say no. That would be my
So
answer.
So what's going to drive then the price up? I mean, those questions, it's also addressed to Dimitri. So Dimitri, feel free
Yeah,
because you also have Solana and Ethereum.
please.
What is going to drive the price up in the next 12 months for in cryptos? And is it for both Bitcoin and altcoins? I assume your answer is yes, also for
Yeah.
Dimitri, right? Because you also have some altcoins. Solana is an altcoin. Ethereum in theory is also one. So what are you guys seeing in terms of catalysts ahead?
I really do think that there. I mean, I don't know if this will answer the question, but I do really think that institutional adoption will take place in, I wouldn't say full force, but like a much more than it has in the past within the next 12 months. If you look at fundamentals as
Mm.
well, I mean, like it makes sense. Obviously, like
There's a big difference
crypto.
if it's Trump who wins, or if it's Kamala Harris that wins or not.
Well, not any. Recently, not anymore. I mean, like I'd have to like really delve into it, but I'm reading or seeing articles of Kamala just also stating that she is pro crypto as well. So
Really?
both sides, yeah. So, and I think that's the card that they're both trying to play, because they can see what the masses possibly want. They're seeing, you know, the sentiment there, they're seeing the demand there. And so, yeah, I think both sides are playing it.
So
Yeah.
my opinion about, and I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, and once you figure out Bitcoin, then everything else just follows Bitcoin, right? So so Bitcoin doesn't really need a catalyst to double in price within a month or two. Again, it can happen, and then once it happens, then you're going to go back into the calendar, and you're going to say, okay, that was a catalyst. You're going to point to something that happened, maybe relevant, but you're going to justify it. That's how the crypto market works. But if you want me to point some potential catalyst in the next 6 months to a year, is further rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. So that's going to create a liquidity injections into the crypto market, because at the end of the day, crypto is basically supply and demand. And once you have the liquidity,
and not only in the US, right? In Europe, we're cutting interest rates, so Europeans will put more money where there are potential returns. Chinese will do the same.
yeah,
right?
but it's
We're cutting all around the world, right? I
crypto,
mean,
crypto is US centric, basically.
oh,
It's
I think Mimi
centric.
would disagree on that or not.
To be honest, I mean, like, at the moment, like, US is still leading everything.
Yeah.
You know, everything. You know, and the other thing also, when you're talking about macroeconomic factors, interest rate cuts and all that, yeah, for sure, those are catalysts, and that would drive up the stock market, obviously. And at the moment, crypto is still following the stock market. You know, stock market goes up, affects crypto not as much as it used to, but that in terms of catalysts, like, yeah, I agree definitely with that. And the stock market would perform very well as well in general next year.
Yeah, the interest rates have everything to do with you be able to borrow cheap money, and you throw them into the risk assets. And risk assets are stocks, and then even risky, and those are crypto. And Bitcoin can be justified as a store of value. So a lot of people are going to jump into that. But so we just got a rate cut 2 weeks ago. We're going to get another one at 25 BPS in November. Then you have the election. You have to get that out of the way. So, okay, the new president got elected. There's no problem, no civil war.
And then we know where we stand.
Yes, then that happens. Then the Fed is going to keep cutting. Hopefully, they're going to engineer the soft landing that we are waiting for. So hopefully that goes our way, because it can be questionable. I mean, I have my doubt.
What if there's a recession? Interest rates are cut, economy is great, okay, everything goes up. But let's say interest rates are cut, economy goes down, people have no jobs, they have less money, less savings. Is Bitcoin still going to go up no matter what?
Probably not. Probably not, in my opinion, in a recession.
If not, then that would break the pattern of the previous cycles, which makes it an extremely, probably the most predictable asset on the market. Because everyone has that expectation Bitcoin will exceed $100K, right? Everyone. And it's crazy how there's that consensus. And usually when all the market participants have that same consensus, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Yeah. And to agree with Mimi, my estimate, assuming everything goes well, my estimate is also between 100 and 150 of Bitcoin. Now, let me tell you my long-term case, my long-term bull case, which I heard the other day. Once Bitcoin really becomes digital gold, and the central banks, they're going to want to buy their own Bitcoin, that's when it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Because central banks, they're going to print money to buy Bitcoin.
And that's why I am holding Bitcoin and Ethereum. I've thrown all these questions throughout the episode, the skeptical questions, but I'm holding Bitcoin and Ethereum because they are becoming institutional.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think this institutional factor is going to be a huge catalyst. Mimi, you said it earlier. It's going to be a huge catalyst for the Bitcoin price action in the next the next 12 months.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
for sure.
when I was watching the other day, it was like the case that once the governments realize that Bitcoin is the next thing that you have to have in your treasury, the US obviously is going to have 20% of it. Then China, Russia, they're going to have 10%.
They're gonna rush. They're gonna rush to buy it.
Gonna rush to
Also,
buy it. Satoshi Nakamoto has, what is it, 10% of the supply? I don't know exactly the number what Satoshi has in his, but he's not touching it apparently. He just has it, just have it, just to have it. He's not gonna, that's speculation, of course. So once the big, or once
it's possible he died also, right?
yeah, it's quite possible because
We don't know him.
it is.
Mhm.
And you have to understand, once countries start buying Bitcoin, countries, they don't have necessarily to borrow money to buy Bitcoin. They can just print the dollars and the euro and buy it.
It's also possible he lost it, right? He lost all his Bitcoins. Maybe he lost the password to his storage. That's also possible. It's something that happens very often.
Is it,
Yeah.
is it like 20% of Bitcoin is lost forever? Isn't I don't know,
I don't
like
know the percentage, but I mean, I feel for those people as well, the ones that have, had it on their hard drive and then they all lost their password and, they've got 7 million or more dollars on it and it's just lost forever. Like I would never want to be in that position.
But actually, I'm thinking, if those people had the passwords, maybe they would have sold it a long time ago before it even reached that value. Maybe they would have sold when it reached 50K, right? They would be like, wow, 50K is really nice as a down payment. I'm gonna sell everything. So what I'm hoping for is for all these people, or at least a portion of them, somehow to recover their passwords. And that will be the best lesson we can learn is invest on eToro, try to forget your password, have it somewhere, and then 20 years from now, you open your eToro account again and you're gonna have a huge surprise. Especially if you're copying Mimi, you're gonna have a big surprise 20 years from now.
If you want a little spice in your portfolio, KoraTrades.
All right, thank you. I think it's great. We can conclude our discussion on this. We had a great discussion today. A lot of things to think about. The episode was longer than initially planned, but that's because we had really a quality conversation around a lot of different topics. So guys, make sure to check Mimi's eToro. We will put the link to her eToro portfolio in the description of the episode. If you have questions, you can also insert them, and we will make sure to forward them to Mimi for her to kindly answer them. So thank you guys, and see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. Maybe part 2. We need a part 2.
We need a part 2, maybe about the XRP, Ripple.
We will make it happen. We will make that part to happen, and thank you for coming, Mimi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.
Guys.
Bye.